on to our last session of the day, that is Marketing and Predictive Analytics, the essentials to connect with your consumer and accelerate your data driven business. For which I would like to welcome Anjana Rao, Chief Strategy Officer, India First Life Insurance, Srinidhi Shama Rao, Chief Strategy Officer, Aegon Life Insurance, and Mr. Gopal Kiran, Global Head of Banking and Financial Services Insider. Now, I would like to welcome you all. Mr. Gopal Kiran will be moderating this session, and I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Gopal Kiran. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the introduction. So, good evening, everyone. I know I'm standing between the last session and your dinner. So I'll make it very precise, simple. And I've also seen my panelists here, Anjana and Shama, are quite busy in their daily BAU. So I won't keep them bothering too much. So welcome to this evening. I think we have two strategists in this panel. We will talk more about data, predictive analytics, and in general about the insurance industry because both of them are representing from the insurance industry background. Maybe I take the pleasure to introduce themselves because I feel I may not be able to do the right justice to uh, speak for their credentials so far. Maybe I start with Anjana. You want to quickly introduce yourself? You're on mute.
Thanks, Gopal. Hello, everyone. Hi, Srinidhi. So, I am taking care of business transformation and strategy at India First Life. I have close to 20 years of experience within insurance industry. Have been associated with all the facets of managing technology, end user technology, as well as doing pre-sales and consulting for this has been my forte, and now again I'm back with the industry. And yeah, I mean, it's been a 6 year long journey with India First Life, where we are trying to digitalize our processes and also figure out how do we use technology to grow faster. Yeah, Gopal.
Thanks, Anjana. I think that your experience in this digital transformation will be very valuable for our audience today. I think you might have got your hands dirty in fixing a lot of the transformation initiatives in line to your strategic objectives. I will ask them more during our session. Welcome you again to the panel. Maybe I move to Srinidhi. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure, sure. Thanks, Gopal, and nice meeting you, Anjana, again. Anjana and I keep meeting each other in some of these panels. I'm Srinidhi Rao. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Aegon Life. I just joined Aegon about 6 months ago. My forte is helping organizations adopt a data-driven strategy. In fact, this is my first forte into insurance, and over the last 20 years, I have been in various different consulting firms across the US, Europe, and India. Helping organizations adopt what is now called analytics, AI, etc. And when I started off it, there were the buzzwords weren't there, but still the idea is that how can we use data and information in any way, shape, or form to help organizations either reduce cost of ops or increase the top line by targeting the customers better and adding more value to the customer, right? That's what we have been doing, and involved in the digital transformations of some of the largest and biggest CPG and retail CPG retail firms out there. And just join Aegon Life. Looking at the opportunity of where insurance is standing today in terms of being at an inflection point, where the entire industry is transforming to cater to the new digital Indian customer. So very excited to be here. Thanks, Gopal.
Thanks, Srini. I think this is the trend I see everywhere in the financial institutions. They are trying to bring people from non-FS background. I think that is where the cross-industry alignment is happening. The thinking is happening. Recently, I was talking to CEOs of some banks in Korea and all. In the IT team, they have a lot of people from gaming companies. So that's where the real UI UX comes into play because we can jump here, jump there, kill someone. So this kind of fancy UI UX are coming into place. So thanks. Welcome you both again. So with that, I'll quickly start my discussion. So I've planned a series of questions which touch on various aspects like financial inclusion and how we can better leverage on data. We talk of AI, customer journeys, and risk aspects as well, like the underwriting and all. Maybe I'll start my first question with Anjana. So, Anjana, with your experience working in India, a lot of digital transformation initiatives. Some of the standard problems in India are still existing, like low penetration rate with respect to insurance, the rural population, lot lack of accessibility, the financial literacy is not there. So these are all the macroeconomic problems. I don't think as an individual we can do much, but how any of these modern business models we talk in insurance industry, how the new data frameworks can support any of these macro objectives, any successful use cases or examples you have seen in your career. Over to you, Anjana.
Unmute. Yes, so I would say, Gopal, I mean, most of the things is passe. I mean, penetration, the fact of the matter is, yes, we have low penetration, but, accessibility is a passe, is what I would say. I mean, looking at the mobile penetration and the adoption, so I feel India is work in progress at this juncture, and it's a very interesting phase where which we all are witnessing every passing day, right? I mean, how technology has enabled the outreach to the rural world, direct to, I would say, the distribution direct to rural has been enabled through technology. I mean, so I feel now is the right time for the insurance folks to grab the opportunity, because there are talk about agri-techs, the way they have kind of invaded, they have made their place, almost all the farmers, most of the farmers are getting onboarded, be it loan, be it surveillance of the farm fields, be it for anything. So there are platforms which are available for farmers, and they already are very well connected with payment gateways. They are very well connected with other facilitators. So it is a very fantastic ecosystem which is work in progress. And this is the right time, I feel, for insurance organizations to join that bandwagon. And many of them have already joined in. And it is, as I told you, it's a work in progress. Um so this is one model which I see is going to flourish. Anyways, agri-tech in itself is a big is uh, is uh, is a big space, and that many of these agri-techs are becoming brokers for insurance. They are becoming aggregators, or they are becoming insurance brokers. And I feel this is one area, one big white space which needs to be explored and exploited. Again, I mean, technology is going to only help in like APIs. Most of the insurance companies, while API, they are working on micro APIs and they are working on microservices, but APIs, how this data then can be used for simplifying the product. So essentially, a couple of things which I see is a must have if one has to invade the space is simplified products, simple to understand, easy to sell products coupled with technology. So technology as a vehicle, if I have to use agri-tech is one media. I'm just giving an example. Agri-tech is one vehicle which insurance bandwagon can use. And another thing is, how do we make it relevant? Because if we can have our COIs, our policies, in a language which is understood and which one can relate to, so what I know, what I have bought as a cover. So if I'm not able to read, then maybe as a voice, as a form. So if we can exploit technology, be it voice or be it relevant, either we start customizing it, the end products, the policy documents, or the certificate of insurance, or the renewal reminders in a language people relate to, or else we aid for voice as a delivery mode, which again people understand, and it will minimize mis-selling like crazy. So this is
Yeah.
my take here.
Thanks, Anjana. I think you have touched on a variety of aspects here. I think I really like the correlation you have made insurance with agri-tech. I think I strongly believe that. And then I think all the points you have mentioned with respect to easy to sell, understandable, how do we reduce the conduct risk in the insurance. I think there are some of the elements to deal with. And then the open API. Although I'm an ambassador of open API, but I've seen not much success yet in the region I operate. But I will come back to a little
It's
later.
work in
Maybe,
progress right now, people. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
we will
yeah,
see
correct.
how, I mean, I think we'll evolve in a much better way.
Yeah, I think the conceptually it's quite good. I think everyone fond and we like the beauty of the concept, but I think how do we make it a practical use case out of it and bring the outcomes? I think that's where the challenge is. So I think Srini, this is another. I think you might have heard this question many times. Uh, there's a lot of big tech players, insure tech players entering into the insurance service space. So how do an incumbent player have to see this? Do you see it's a race or it's more of a collaboration or a compete? So where do you stand? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, it's actually a very important and pertinent question, Gopal. So, and thankfully, from insurance perspective, we have the precedent of a lot of other industries that have gone through this journey, and now insurance is at the cusp where we also have to face this, right? Now, when you take a few steps back and look at what these new age big tech companies are doing, right? So they are by design incentivized, to get a lot of customers on board and then make them do a variety of different things. It could be purchasing an FMCG product to electronics, consumer electronics product to a banking product, a loan to some other, do a transfer of money to whatnot, right? So they're incentivized by design, designed to attract the customer on board to come many times in a day, hopefully, right? And then do a lot of different things. Now, in this context, if you see, what they are trying to do is, and what they are doing with or without their by design is trying to democratize this access, all these kind of things, and literally having the world at the fingertips of the consumer, right? And with the mobile penetration and data penetration happening to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4 cities, if you will, right? So this is really going like a fire. So this actually provides like a fantastic opportunity, if you will, for the insurance companies and banks, right, to basically be in that bandwagon, be in that ecosystem, right, and then get access to the consumers that we were not getting that just 5 years ago. So and also what we have seen is that just like 2-3 years ago we were talking about tier 1 consumer having a very different set of attitudes and habits as compared to tier 2 versus tier 3, etc., right? But now what we see is that those barriers are getting broken, and people doing a certain set of things on these digital platforms have certain set of attitudes that are closer than disparate, right? So guy from a tier 1 city and a tier 3 city, same, I'll assume both of them are vendors on Paytm, for example. They're more alike each other than different from each other, right? And that's what data says us, right? So this is like provides us a fantastic opportunity where the world just opens up for us, and we can reach out to all those guys through these platforms, right? So I would not only say collaborate, but I would go one step further to say celebrate, right? Celebrate the fact that we are getting access to so many different people that we did not have access to just a few years ago, right? That's the path that I would take, right? And given that most of these people are ready to become distributors and being the insurtech and so on and so forth, or being the middle layer between the insurance company and the distributor, providing common set of APIs and all that, right? So that's what is happening, right? And in fact, I have created a team directly working with me to actually go spread this word to the new age companies like health tech companies, wealth tech companies, etc., to be insurance brokers or distributors, or at least aggregators, if you will, so that we could collaborate with them to move forward. Only challenge this poses is that if a distributor is distributing your product, right, and then for him all the 25 different insurance products are exactly the same, right? So and it becomes like a price war or eventually a commodity, if you will, right? So how do you fight the commoditization is the problem that we have to face, but not really the fact that there are so many insurance companies out there who are ready to distribute. That's actually something to celebrate. But each of us have to figure out, how do we fight commoditization. In Avon, we are doing it in different ways in terms of taking a very advisory kind of a role with the customers and trying to deorganize the entire thing for them so that they can make the right choices without actual help of the so-called broker who is to push products to them, etc. We are taking our own path, and different companies take their own path. But the fight really is how do you decommoditize in a crowded market?
I think thanks, Srinidhi. Very interesting points. Not compete or collaborate. It's more celebrate. I like it. It could be a hashtag on Twitter or something. I really like it. The other point you've mentioned is yes, the distribution aspect is been evolving. There are so many players you can partner with. So I think this will be a question to both of you as well. Based on where I see global markets, many of the players, or in fact the banking players, they are either to they're trying to shift their roles. Previously, they play the role of a manufacturer of a product and a distributor of a product. Now, with this all this fintech players or insurtech players coming into place, the distribution aspect or a percentage of distribution lying on their head can be passed on to these players, and then they can only be a product manufacturer or an underwriter or a reinsurer. Um, and that's how the friendship are going. So where do you see this model working? Do you think this model is working in India, or where do you see the future? The focus for the distribution network, like focus on traditional banca or the digital partnerships, or it's a hybrid of both? Maybe Anjana, you go first, and then Srini.
Yeah, sure. So, the way I look at it, Gopal, I think both are evolving and both are, I mean, bank assurance or the banks themselves are transforming. They are transforming and they are consciously, driving a shift from branch banking to digital banking. So that's a stage where we are in, and hence the distribution model definitely is going to get tweaked. So it's like how well aligned, the insurance company, because most of the things could turn out to be autopilot, or it's banning. It's like, what is the limited stuff which your field force then is going to do, and what is it that your automation will do. So that's something which is yet to be distilled and determined. But yes, right now, and then there is a new ecosystem, like what Srinidhi was also talking about. We are looking at an era where we are entering into ecosystems, and those ecosystems are the place from where, new customer acquisition, because that's where you can target for new set of segments of customer, which typically a bank assurance model may not provide, right? So that's the place where new customers can a new segment of customer can be targeted for. So when both of these models are evolving, what is it that an insurance company can do, which we always have been doing, is focus on how we can be agile. To the focus has always been on customer experience and the focus has been on growth. So in this state of transition, how we can be agile to adapt to the newer ways of doing, because it is also a mindset change as to how things, what's going to be the blueprint for future, when my branch banking portion is going to reduce and the digital banking quotient is going to increase. So how am I going to staff, how am I going to, what kind of products, so will I be able to sell the products which I'm selling at the branch, will can that ticket size be thought through, through a digital mode. So everything is evolving, and hence agility is first and foremost thing which needs to be strived for. And with along with that, I mean, the focus will never change from customer experience during acquisition and during and post acquisition for servicing. And second part is how do you grow. So these two areas of focus will continue to be there. And then technology, we have used technology in the past. At present, as to how are we going to use technology to ensure that we grow, to ensure that we are providing the best and the simple and the easiest possible experience to our customers when we acquire them and when we service them. So I would like to keep it very simple. I mean, the focus has to be on agility right now, to how quickly we are able to unlearn, how quickly we are able to learn and adapt to the transition which is happening.
No, no, that's actually a super point, and can't disagree at all. It's an amazing point that it's not just we guys who are evolving. Even the banks are evolving, and the banca itself will evolve, right, very very soon. And also the traditional distribution systems, are evolving, and they have to transform. Otherwise, they will get they will not be existing in the next few years, right? And of course, the digital distribution ecosystem that is just coming up, they are also figuring out their space in the ecosystem right now, right? So everything is, it's like everything is in a flux right now. Right now, the question is, how
Yes.
do we how do we adopt, and then where do we put our bets on, right? In Aegon, we took a, we looked at, started looking at, okay, who is our customer and who is it that we want to target, and then we started working backwards, right? So we are very clear that, okay, the people that we want to target is next 100 million people, in India who are getting, who are getting digitized. That's the quote under Bharat, right? So that we call, right? And then we started working backwards from that. Okay, if we have to reach those folks, right, then what is the best way to reach, right? And given the pace at which they are getting digitized and are getting more and more comfortable with all these new age, apps and digital ecosystem, we thought, like, can we just focus on that? And then we said, okay, let's say no to all the traditional distribution systems, right? That was a choice that we made, right? And then we said, okay, we'll just do only through digital partners, and that will be the only thing. Because what was happening was that when for a short time we tried both, right? Of course, we had to be agile in order to try both. That is absolutely right, as Anjana said. But while we were trying to do both, there is a management and leadership bandwidth that goes into each one of them, right? And something is very new, like a digital ecosystem that's going to be giving only 5% of your revenue, and something else which is a more traditional one, although it's getting smaller and smaller, it's still giving you 95% of your revenue. Where does the management bandwidth and the and the mind share go automatically, right? So it goes to 95%. That's why we said, no, if you have to really capture the next 100 million Bharat customers, then we had to focus on digital. So let's say no to all the things, all the traditional things, as difficult as it might be, right? And that's the choice that we made. But yeah, I think every company has to make its choice based on their strategy and who is the customer that they want to target. But yeah, but as while it is transforming, banca in some way, shape, or form is going to exist, as we all know. Although it might exist in a very different form than what it is today.
Yeah. So I think I echo with you. In the interim, both has to coexist, the banca and the digital. But in the long run, one cow may go up, the other cow may go down. So we need to find that the inflection point. Till then, we have to leverage on both. So yeah.
That's correct.
So maybe I will move to the next part. We have talked of the fintechs. We have talked about the distribution models, etc. Now, I think I want to touch on the heart of the insurance, which is the underwriting. So maybe, Srinidhi, you also come from tech background based on your LinkedIn. Maybe I would like to get your thoughts on how. I mean, we all read. I personally read, but I have not done it. We talk of using AI, blockchain, etc. in underwriting processes. How real it is, and how you think we can converge on data and these new technologies for transforming the future underwriting methods.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so the short answer is that it's like very, very, very real, no doubt about it. So I strongly believe that the underwriting of 2025 is going to look nothing like the underwriting of 2020. Right? So we are in the cusp of the transformation, because of a combination of factors. One is that we have a lot more data today, thanks to thanks to a lot of things that the government is doing, as well as the internet penetration is happening than what we had like just 2-3 years ago. So we have account aggregators coming in. We have all these KYC, digital KYCs, CKYC, EKYC, and all happening, right? And health aggregation is just coming. We just saw it in the budget, and so on and so forth, right? So lot of things are coming together where we can look at a customer with one unique ID, right, and then track him or her, across different facets of that customer, right? So we have access to a lot more data, and as long as customer provides the consent to use it for particular purposes, we can use it and derive a lot of insights out of it. And then we have the right set of technologies, algorithms, etc. today, as we all know, that can make all these things real, right? That's on one side of things. Other side of things is the technology itself. We talk about these wearable devices, IoT, and so on and so forth. And the second aspect is the behavioral sciences. We know exactly how a particular type of customers having a particular type of intent, right, will behave in particular context, right, and so on and so forth, right? All this coming together is changing, or at least providing an opportunity to change the face of underwriting completely. So, for example, today, so what what we are trying to do at Aegon, and I'm sure India First is doing something very similar, etc., is that we are taking a step back and looking at, okay, why are we doing what are we doing in the underwriting process, right? So, for example, we were asking a traditional government ID, from the customer, right? Why are we really doing that? What are we trying to establish, right? We are trying to basically establish that, okay, we are match the name with the photo and the person that we are seeing in the front, right? Can we do it digitally through a selfie and verifying that with CKYC, verification, right? So on and so forth. So and then we are trying to look at income. Okay, why are we looking at the income, and what are the surrogates that can provide us the person's income rather than asking him last 6 months of bank statements, right? Similarly, what are the why are we asking for health? Why are we asking for health, right? And so on, and what are the surrogates to determine good health, right? So on and so forth. Right? Based on all these things, we are coming up with a like a financial score, health score, a fraudulent risk score, etc. Based on all these data elements that we extract with customers' consent, and using it in very innovative ways to derive patterns and estimate what might be the person's fraudulent intent, what may be the person's health, and so on and so forth, right? So we are moving towards a world where we absolutely don't need to torture the customer asking him 100 different documents, right? And we can do like a literally few clicks journey, literally like on the spot issuance of a policy, so on and so forth. It was just not unimaginable just 3-4 years ago, but today it's all possible. And actually Aegon is coming up with this first digital only product just about 2 months from now, and we are at the cusp of a transformation. I would say in 2025 you're going to see a very different insurance world than what we saw in 2020.
Right, and I hope for it as well. So I think the point you've mentioned is quite good. Like it is retrospecting at every point or every step. Why do we need this? Why do we need this? Is there any alternative or in a digital mode we can achieve this? I think that is cool. In fact, this brings me off another example of I was talking to one of the C-suite for an insurance company here, just to the point you've mentioned on reducing the number of clicks. So previously, this insurance company, this is on the GI side, they used to have some 32 fields to fill in order to generate a quote. And after a thorough exercise, they have reduced it to 7 or 8 fields, if I remember well, um, to generate a quote. And they leverage on other source of data rather than asking the customer to fill in this data. I was asking why 7 or why 8 to the CEO. He said, I want to cut down to 5, but 3 of them are regulatory. I cannot omit them, so he has to live with 8. So I think what you have said, it's quite resonates well. All right, maybe I've move to my next question to Anjana. I think we have talked of distribution models, we have talked of underwriting. Now I come to the origination part. Right. So, Anjana, in your experience, we might do we have to do a lot of singing and dancing in front of the 100 million customer base in India in order to acquire them. So, where do you see this marketing analytics or all this digital marketing techniques where we mine the data about the customers, be it an anonymous customer or a known customer? How do we get the conversions? What worked for you and what not worked for you?
So I would say I am still in an exploratory stage. Like as you had already set the context, we were banca focused, and now we are slowly
I see.
moving into the digital, establishing our and strengthening our digital channel. So I would say my expectations, and I'm while we are getting onto this journey, so my expectations is where I don't get the insight today is if I have a digital funnel, where am I, where are the leakages, how am I supposed to control those leakages is what I'm looking out for as the first lever, I mean, so I have a digital funnel, I'm getting traffic, I'm spending efforts to get the traffic. So where am I losing the traffic, at what stage within the funnel, and hence how I can improvise. So
Mm,
that's first and foremost insight, which and other things which we are which we are currently doing with the help of marketing analytics is segmentation. So today we get a good insight about our customer segmentation, the profiling of an anonymous as well as, so with the anonymous now it helps me to how do I move from an unknown entity to a known entity, and how do I nurture because I get the view of the segment, I'm able to do a differentiated treatment to that segment. But yes, I mean, again, how do I customize the journey then? So this is again, for me it is a whip stage right now. For India first, we are in a whip stage where identifying the persona, for that persona maximum, how do I enrich that particular every lead which is there in my funnel, and then how do I customize the journey. That is a journey for us which we have embarked upon, and I'm still WIP. what I for customers whom I've already acquired. So over there also I'm looking out for marketing tools to give me an insight. The insight is what kind of CLV, what kind of customer lifetime value,
Right.
or through analytics, what kind of value, for is there with every customer. If can I run something like a pre-approved summer shirt kind of a campaign, so understanding, what is the profile, and basis that profile can we run some pasa drives, can we, and how close we will be, so essentially these insights then have to help us to minimize or to enhance the conversion rate, so how close we are able to define. So ultimate, like our ceo's vision is, can we go for a segment of one. So while that is where we need to go to, but I mean right now we are at a stage where we are trying, how do I hyper personalize the experience then for this customer every time he or she interacts with me. So today we have acquired information about the customer, and we are modeling it to figure out how am I going to use this to first is to engage with him or her, and after that meaningful engagement, is there a possibility for me to pitch more to this customer, and the end intent is, can I do more referrals, can I generate more referrals from this customer. So it's like, how can I have a set of customers whom I have earned through a given customer, rather than acquiring customers through the commission channel. So where we can have a strive a balance. So that's where I would like to see, or like to utilize inputs from, be it marketing analytics, or be it from the data modeling or data driven insights. So these are the two areas where we are trying to figure out, how we can streamline this and have a effective personalized experience for the customer, and do more with the existing customers.
Right.
I
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
think
very,
I
very
had,
interesting.
thanks.
Talking about a
yeah, I
segment of
hope
one,
it
I know, which
answers
is the
your
ultimate.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I just thought, I
Yeah,
hope
it
it answers
absolutely
your
answers.
question.
Absolutely. I think I know how hard it would be to hyper personalize to any of the segments. What all you go through in order to create this hyper personalization, and also this hyper personalization is with respect to channel as well. Some are mobile users, some are WhatsApp, some are web, some are branches. So, and how do you make an omni-channel experience? That is the next dimension to it. So, Srini,
Yes.
you wanted to add something? Please go ahead.
No, I was just telling that it's very interesting that Sanjana was talking about segment of one, which is the final nirvana point for all of us. It's very difficult to reach there, but that should be the goal of all of us. There are two aspects of it, so when we're trying to segment the customer and then coming up with segments and then personalize and hyper personalize eventually, right? So there are two aspects that we have tried to consider. And it has worked quite well for us. So one is the quantitative aspects, if you will, right? So in order to segment the customer, you take some standard attributes, right? It could be income, urbanicity, and so on and so forth, right? A bunch of attributes, right? If you will, and then there is the touchy feely, attributes, if you will, that you cannot really quantify, but it is the attitudes of the people, it is a risk profile of the people, and how they would behave in certain contexts, and so on and so forth, right? Now, the moment you are able to do some qualitative analysis of people like this, right, and then try to merge the two things, especially India is like, it's actually many countries, it's not one country, it's many countries from attitudes perspective, right? So the moment you look at the group of people and try to understand them really well as people, right, and then try to put these quantitative aspects of segmentation, right, it provides such a rich context. Okay, these people have XYZ amount of income, urbanicity, and so on and so forth, right? And in addition to that, they behave like this in particular context, and they are more risk averse, or they're very risk taking, etc., etc. Try to live in joint families versus nuclear families, or whatever those things are, right? You put these two things together, it becomes a super rich profile of the customer, right, that we can understand and then cater to him or her so well that the moment we recommend the next best thing for the customer, is likely to just purchase without thinking, right? To that extent we could go. So we are talking about a segment of one. What has worked very well for us is combining qualitative and quantitative aspects of customer and doing segmentation based on that.
All right, Srini, I think that looks like going back to the fundamentals and look at them both from qualitative and quantitative aspects. So I think thanks for the good participation so far. I think we are 3 minutes to 2 minutes to for the closing. I just want to get some concluding remarks from both of you. Maybe I would like to give Anjana the first chance. Any concluding thoughts on the overall data and technology towards insurance industry?
This is just the starting, is what I would say. There is lots to be explored and data. I mean, so now that we have enough and more data, now we have access to really good tools and solutions. So it's like, how do we deploy the data driven insights at every process to ease out the decision points wherever there's a TBD? How can I apply those data driven insights for auto decisioning, or personalizing, or to make the experience much more relevant, by use of languages again. So all of a sudden you have access to everything that you could think of. Now the challenges, or the act is how quickly you can apply and you can roll it out. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. Thanks. I think I like it. It's just the beginning. So I think a lot more work pending for all of us. Srinidhi, any final thoughts for you?
Yes, yes. So I think we are entering a world, where there is so much data that like there is absolutely no information arbitrage anywhere, and there is nothing called loyalty anymore, right? And attention spans are reducing drastically, right? So in this context, right, and of course geographical barriers are breaking left, right, and center, right? So in this context, right, of course customer experience is going to play a big role. Whoever focuses best on customer experience, it will give you disproportionate returns, right? That's one aspect. No, but all this said, right, so there is one thing that stays constant is that trust is still the currency of everything, right? The moment you break trust, and the pace at which information flows today, you are like doomed in a matter of minutes, right? So trust still stays irrespective of the digitization, digital transformation, etc. Trust is still the currency, that is that between the company and the customer.
Thanks, Srinidhi. Wise words. No loyalty. I agree. Zero switching costs. So the moment you increase your price, they'll look at the other side, and then trust. I think very wise words. So with that, I think thank you both of you for your very good participation and good insights. Thanks and have a nice evening. Over
Thanks,
to
Gopal.
you, Pratishata.
Thank you so much, panelists, for joining with us today. I must say it was one great session. Now, as a token of appreciation, we would like to present the appreciation certificates to Mr. Gopal Kiran, Global Head of Banking and Financial Services Insider. Thank you, sir. Ms. Anjana Rao, Chief
Thank you.
Strategy Officer,
Thank you.
India First Life Insurance. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Srinidhi Shama Rao, Chief Strategy Officer, Aegon Life Insurance. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining with us today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gopal. Thanks,
Thank you.
Anjana.